Welcome to the Behind the Curtain podcast, your real-world guide to real estate investment and property management.
So today I got Tom Durhan with me. Tom Durhan's a friend. He's also an investor. I just recently sold 21 of his houses and just sold another 7? 8. And then you're buying another 7
you help me
from
facilitate buying 7. You're
7 or 8,
definitely busy.
So anyway, Tom's a local guy. He's an investor here in Memphis. He's also a contractor. He's buying, he's selling, he's rehabbing. So he's doing a little bit of everything. So I wanted to bring Tom in. First of all, I want to understand your philosophy because 5 years ago, if I mentioned Fraser to anybody, their hair would stand up like, no, I'm not interested in buying a house in Fraser. And rightfully so. There's certain areas of Fraser, just like any other part of Memphis, that are just kind of hairy and, can get kind of rough.
That's true.
But a lot of what you purchased in the last 4 or 5 years has been around the Fraser market. So what was your reasoning behind that?
Well, honestly, Brett, the biggest issue is finding a house that has good value to it. You can buy at a decent price. It will cash flow well. And Fraser's been very good in that aspect. There's really good areas of Fraser that you can buy at still decent prices. And as long as you fix your house up nice, you can get some quality tenants.
Okay.
I've had very, very good long-term tenant success there.
You've got a lot of Section 8 tenants.
I have. I've had a lot of Section 8, but I've also had some regular tenants as well, and they've all been good except for one, which I won't speak of.
Yeah, we talked about that one. I met all the tenants, especially in that 19-house inspection, and they were all phenomenal in my opinion. You've had some women that have been there 10 years, and the houses are in great shape and well taken care of. But, Section 8 has its drawbacks.
It does. But they do the inspections every 6 months, which really helps because if they do the inspections, you've got to keep the house up. And if the tenant's a problem, you can usually figure it out pretty quick.
And I want to get into Section 8 with you in a minute because I know 10 years ago, investors got away from it.
They did.
And for obvious reasons, but I want to know what's changed about it in recent. So let's talk about the Fraser market since you seem to be there a lot. Your typical house in Fraser, you're going to buy at what?
I would say, depending on the state of it, anywhere from $30,000 to $70,000.
And how much do you typically put into that property to get it rent ready?
Again, it varies, but I would say on average, probably about $20,000.
Okay.
And right now, the rents there are between $800 to $1,000 a month for a 3-1.
So you pick yourself up a $60,000 house, drop $20,000 into it, and get $850 a month. Your ROI's looking pretty decent.
$895, $995, yeah.
And the rent values continue to go up in Fraser. And you know what I noticed the last time I was in Fraser, which was actually yesterday, is that most of the streets I go down, there's a construction dumpster in the front yard of at least 1 or 2 houses on that street.
That's correct.
Which tells me that Fraser's at the beginning of what happened to Raleigh 3-5 years ago, where you could pick up a house for $70,000, which is now worth $110,000.
Yes.
So when you go in and you buy a house for $50,000, you put your 20 in it. What's your projected ROI? What do you want out of it? Are you looking for the 1%? Is that what you shoot for?
Yes, I want to basically whatever I pay, I want at least 10% back after rehab. Okay. So 10% is the minimum. So if I put 70 in,
you want 700.
I want at least 700, which is easy in Fraser. You're going to get 800-900. So that's a really good return on investment.
Now, are you concerned about the inflation issue with tenants and rent at this point?
Well, what I found is the rental business is pretty much inflation proof because people always need houses. And if the economy's not doing as well, I had rental houses in 08 and 09 and the values went down, which I didn't sell. I wasn't worried, but no one really got behind. Everybody paid because people need places to live. So I haven't had any issue with that at all.
So I listened to an expert. I won't mention a news channel, but they were discussing the impact of inflation, gas prices, and food prices on people who rent or just middle and lower income people.
Yes.
Basically saying that they could afford $1,000 a month 6 months ago, but because of the current issue and the financials, their personal financials, they're struggling to pay that $1,000. So that you find them now pulling out of their current lease and going somewhere else and getting a house for $800. Are you seeing anything like that in your market, in your rentals?
I haven't yet, personally. But
most of your tenants are getting, well, you're using Section 8, so, and a lot of them, so that helps.
I have a lot of Section 8. Probably about half of my tenants are Section 8, but I haven't really had that issue because, again, if you take care of your tenants in your houses, you have a lot of long-term. Mm-hmm. So my tenants incrementally have been increased over the years, but several of them that are good are still below market value, and
right.
they're not struggling.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the Section 8. 10 years ago, you mentioned Section 8 to an investor.
Yes.
They turn white and just walk away. They're like, nope, not
that was me
because
10 years ago.
My understanding is that the government was so hard on the landlords, but really just let the tenants do whatever they want to do. If they destroyed a house, they destroyed a house.
That's right.
If they broke a window, it's their fault, but you're responsible for fixing it. And if you don't, they could revoke your MHA status.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, that's correct.
Did you have a lot of that?
I didn't, and I started out slow with MHA, and I've built up where it may be more than half my portfolio now at this point. But I've had really good success with it because it's been some of my better tenants have been MHA. Yeah. I mean, I can think of one on Invergary, Miss Laquita. Yeah. She's great.
Yeah, the ones I met were when I did the inspections at the bottom, I put a little note about the tenant to myself, so I would remember.
Right. I saw that.
And you know what's funny is that 9 out of 10 of those I put at the end of it, excellent tenant. Like, because I enjoy, like, I can't remember the lady. There's no lady in the brown brick house. I think it's on Dunn, maybe.
Miss Washington?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We sat in her living room for like 45 minutes and just talked.
Yeah.
I mean, she was just the sweetest lady.
She's a hoot.
So Section 8, for those of you who don't know what Section 8 is, I can't imagine if you're an investment you don't. Section 8 is where the government pays all or a portion of disqualified tenants' rent. And so the positive side is it's guaranteed cash flow. You're getting paid.
And keep in mind, you can still screen them.
Right.
You can still screen the tenants and make sure their credit's good, their criminal record, their background, have they been, forcibly evicted 3 times. So
the government doesn't do that?
I don't know,
before they
honestly.
enter the MHA program?
I have no idea. Okay. I'm just being honest. I don't know how they qualify people or what they do. But I know that the management companies do qualify them. And so the ones that I use, I haven't had a problem.
Okay. So compared to 10 years ago, how has the MHA Section 8 program changed? I've noticed that, and this is just my observation, is that MHA is paying more than, they're paying top market rent. If top market is $1,200, bottom is $1,000. I tell my investors plan on $1,050 because that's what you're going to get. But on MHA, they're popping $1,200 all day long, and they approve it, so you're getting top rent.
And I'll give you an example. I just bought a house on Cleoford. It's a 2-1, and it's a nice house. We got a voucher for $927.
Wow.
2-1. It's a nice house, but $927.
That's still high for a 2-bedroom.
That's really nice, and it's in Fraser.
What's caused MHA to bump the rents the way they have? To be more competitive with other investors?
Competitive, yeah. So they could get the decent houses for their tenants.
Because before they were putting them in, garbage shacks and.
Right, and they're having all kinds of problems with landlords being able to keep up the house because MHA does care about their tenants,
sure.
So they do want to get a quality house.
So MHA is now competing with investors.
Right, so because investor rents have gone up, MHA rents have gone up, which is really beneficial for us, the owners.
Right. So MHA is a housing authority, national housing. It's a government agency, and there's funds that are allotted every year for them to assist low-income people in rental properties. Just for those of you who don't know who they are. I have more and more investors that are getting into the MHA or the Section 8 now because of the rent they can get, the guarantee payments, and the type of tenants they're actually ending up with. So if you're considering MHA out there, just I would seriously look into it because I find it to be a little more stable than just getting an average tenant off the street.
I agree, and I've heard a lot of horror stories, but I haven't had them, and I've had a lot of MHA tenants over the years. Well,
let me ask you from an investor's perspective, what's the one thing in all your rental properties that is a constant, something you've always you just have to deal with? Is it plumbing, heat and air?
Plumbing, heat and air are the two big ones.
Right.
Because when it's super hot, if you have an older system, you're going to have problems. Same thing, plumbing, stopped up drains, toilets that are running. Those are the kind of
Do you
things
find
you
that
run into
most
a
of the
lot.
stopped up drains and stuff like that as a tenant's?
A lot of it is. A lot
And
of
do you
it.
require them to pay for that, or you just take care of it?
A lot of times, the first time I'll let them get off with just the like, hey, there's a toothpaste cap down here, this drain. We're going to take care of it this time. Next time, you're going to have to pay $80 for us to come out and remove this. Please be more careful.
Okay.
And they're usually respectful of that.
Okay, cool. So let's move on to more of your portfolio. How many properties do you have now? I know we sold 21 of them, but
We've actually sold 29.
29. Wow.
So
I've had a good year.
When all the dust settles, I'll have about 40.
40. So,
Again, yeah.
Yeah, because we're picking up 7 now.
Right.
Actually, 9 more.
9 more from you, and I've got 2 more from a wholesaler I'm buying, so that's 11.
And then you'll add that to what do you have left from your old stack?
Not much. I've really bought a lot of property this year. I bought a lot of property.
And what do you buy? I mean, where are you buying them at?
If you can find them, Whitehaven's a great area for rentals. Obviously, East Memphis.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, because I needed more appreciation, I've actually bought a house in Bartlett, a house in Lakeland, a nice house in Raleigh that's right on the edge of Bartlett.
Okay.
But I bought a lot in Fraser and a lot in Whitehaven. If I can find deals there, they don't scare me at all.
So we get a lot of investors out of California, Utah, all around the country that are buying, and they talk to other people that invest here, and they're told stay out of Fraser. They're told don't go here, don't go. What would be your advice to those investors who are just nervous about going into a market where they've been told that they shouldn't be?
Well, I think the biggest thing is they have to have a realtor they can trust, like you, Brett. Like I trust you, and you bring me a house, and you're like, hey, Tom, this is a decent house. I know I'm going to check it out, but I know I can count on that, and I'm not going to be, surprised. Oh, well, Brett was wrong. That's the key. You need a good realtor that's going to steer you to good areas, because like you said earlier, Fraser can be great. Also can be scary. There's parts of Fraser that haven't rebuilt yet and that I would not invest in. So the key to that is if you're out of state, out of town, out of the country, you call a guy like Brett. I strongly recommend Brett. And then you have him scout out and find the properties for you. There's still deals here, especially in those areas.
Yeah. And you can call me at 901-692-7401. My phone's on 24/7. Just because you call me doesn't mean you have to use me. But if you got questions about the Memphis market, I've been in real estate a long time. I've been in the Memphis market for a while, and I understand it. I've met guys like Tom. I have other investors that have different philosophies. My goal as an agent is always to guide my investors who aren't from here down the path of re-education when it comes to investing, because let's face it, a lot of people still use an old method of investments. Market value doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter. If you're buying and holding long term, why does it matter? Because all that matters to you, if you go and invest $1 million in a Taco Bell, all you care about is how much money it's going to make you.
Right.
And you need to view your rental properties that way. If you're all in, you want to have a basis for buying and fixing up and renting. You don't want to just go out there and blow the doors off and buy a $300,000 house that rents for $1,500 a month.
Yeah.
But at the same time, value should not be the key factor. Income should be the key factor.
That's exactly right. You really, because you look at Zillow and Fraser, some of these houses they'll say are worth $60,000, but they'll rent for $800-900.
Yeah.
So I may pay $60,000 for it, which according to Zillow's market, but I'm coming out way ahead.
Sure.
And that's going to appreciate, believe it or not. That's going to keep on appreciating through the years. Not that I care much because I'm a buy and hold, but I'm going to make decent money on that house.
And there, I just gave away one of my tips, because in a previous episode we were talking about getting a good agent that knows how to negotiate on your behalf.
Yes.
Knows how to be aggressive against cash offers. And let me tell you one of the tactics that I use. You use escalation clauses.
Those are
it's
good.
very simple. And let's say the Zillow or CMA says the house is worth $60,000, but it rents for $850. You know what I'm going to tell you? We're going to offer $60 with an escalation clause up to $70.
Smart.
Because if you get it at $70
You're still
and it's still
ahead.
went for $850, guess what? You still exceeded the 10% rule that most investors are hunting for. So be creative with your offers and get you a good agent that knows how to be creative.
Right. And don't use Zillow as the gospel for your investing. You cannot just look at Zillow about, oh, no, I'm overpriced, I'm overpaying. You got to look at the dollars and cents.
Well, to be a good savvy investor in today's market and in today's times, you've got to get away from the value.
That's right.
Because values, and you can take the oldest real estate expert in the country and put him in front of me, and I will argue with him that values are immaterial when you're investing in real estate. They're just immaterial. They're not as important because what's going to happen is if you look at the history of real estate market, it's a stair. It goes up, flatlines, goes up, flatlines, drops, then exceeds its previous number, and then flatlines. It just continues to go up. So long term, you're going to be fine.
You are, and the values are going to go up.
Sure.
Just like those Fraser properties I've sold, I was buying them $20,000, selling at $80,000.
Yeah. No, I know.
From 10 years ago.
You get a good look on those.
Right. But even if you buy it at 60,
what
70.
What do you think your overall percentage of return on those properties in 10 years was?
300%.
300%. Get that in the stock market. Never going to happen. All right, Tom. Well, look, man, I appreciate you coming on and talking to me about your business. I was always wanted to ask you the question about Fraser, but you and I don't ever talk about.
That's true.
We don't have time to talk about it if we're always doing business together. But I appreciate you coming on, man.
Thanks for having me, Brett.
Yeah,
and I love working with you. Appreciate all your hard work.
Thank you, man. So yeah, just this will wrap up our episode. If you want to talk further to me, you can call me at 901-692-7401. It's on 24/7. I am going to my boat this weekend, so if you can't reach me tomorrow, it's because I'm out on the water sleeping.
Thank you for listening to Behind the Curtain Podcast, your real-world guide to real estate investment and property management. Be sure to subscribe at BehindTheCurtainPodcast.com. And if you'd like to learn more about Enterprise Property Management's real estate services, please visit us on the web at EPMRealestate.com. This has been a Sound Ideas Group production for Enterprise Property Management, Inc.